This is the second law of success, mastermind, by Next Level Thinking. Why have a mastermind? The geniuses of the world gained their reputation because they formed alliances with other minds which enabled them to increase their brain power and pick up on new thoughts that were recorded in the ether. How to create a mastermind. The meeting of two minds creates a new state of mind. This reaction can be called the creation of a mastermind. The best number is between 6 to 13 people, according to Hill. Masterminds are chemical. In chemistry, two elements can be combined to create something that is entirely different than the two elements individually. For example, water is H2O, or one atom of hydrogen and two of oxygen, but is neither of these. It is instead the combination of these two elements. The same law also applies to combining two minds in harmony and understanding to achieve a goal. The third mind in conflict. When two or more minds come together in harmony, a third mind is created. It can be used by one or all of the minds participating. This remains the case as long as the alliance is cooperative, but will disappear if there is conflict. A group can be blended into a mastermind if one individual in the group has a negative or repellent mind. Mastermind melding. It is well known that a man and woman living together for a long period of time can become almost indispensable to each other, even though they may not be in love. They not only develop a natural affinity between each other, but also resemble each other. A person can go into a crowd and spot the wife of a husband. The expression on the eyes, tone of voice, and facial expressions give it away. If you do not believe in cooperation, look what happens to a wagon that loses its wheels. Leader coordination. Every leader has a way of coordinating minds of their followers. One uses force and other uses punishments in order to blend the minds into a mastermind. Some of the great leaders of the world have been naturally given mind chemistry that helps them attract other minds. Napoleon, for example, had soldiers follow certain death because of his attractive personality. Able leaders must meet often. The able leader knows that a mastermind will disintegrate if the leader leaves the group. For this reason, a leader must meet frequently, and that will stimulate the minds while the leader is gone. Brain battery. The brain is like a battery. It becomes exhausted and makes the owner feel discouraged. The brain must recharge, and this is done when in contact with another vital mind or minds. Great leaders know how to accomplish this, and this is the difference between a leader and a follower. Intelligent sex. Intelligently made sex is one of the best methods of recharging. This must be generally affected towards each other, or else the sex will be devitalizing. All great leaders have been highly sex natures. Vitality destroys disease. Any and all diseases are caused by a devitalized mind. If a person is perfectly vitalized, it is practically immune to all diseases. Through the principle of harmonious blending of minds, perfect health may be enjoyed. The success of Edison, Ford, and Firestone. These would be like today's, say, maybe Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, etc. So that's who these people basically were back then when this book was written, which was in like the 1920s. Edison, Ford, and Firestone did not achieve their goals on deceit, the supernatural, or revelations. It was achieved by working with the chemistry of the minds and the natural laws of the universe. However, there is something connected with the financial success of this particular group of men that is well worth study, analysis, and even emulation. And that something is the fact that they have learned how to coordinate their individual minds of blending them in a spirit of perfect harmony with others, thereby creating a mastermind that unlocks to each individual of the group doors which are closed to most of the human race. Group subconscious and ether. When two or more minds are harmonized, their minds can gather knowledge from the subconscious of all other minds. This can increase their imagination and intuition. New ideas can appear out of nowhere and flash into their minds. Their ideas come from the dominating thoughts of the individual. The mastermind attracts ideas and thoughts of high quality from the ether and touches every atom in the universe. What is often called mastermind is called religion, psychology, mind chemistry, or it can be called anything you wish. They are all based on mastermind principle either way. Male and female masterminds. The most effective alliances have resulted in blending the minds of men and women. The combination of genders blend more easily in harmony. This is caused by the bonus of sexual contact. Warning for leaders. Do not be too ready to charge the other party to your alliance with all the responsibility of lack of harmony. Remember, the trouble may be with your own brain. Value of Ford and mastermind. The organized knowledge of the Ford organization was 75% of Ford's wealth. The value of the cash from physical access of every nature, including raw and finished materials, was 25% of Ford's wealth. Unquestionably, the biggest asset that Henry Ford has is his own brain. Next to it, this would be the brains of immediate circle of associates, for has been through coordination of these physical assets which he controls were accumulated. Destroy every material thing the Ford Motor Company owns and every dollar on deposit in any bank, and Ford would still be the most powerful man economically on the earth. The brains which have built the Ford business could duplicate it in sort order. Ford was the most powerful man on earth at the time because he had the keenest, most practical conception of the principle of organized knowledge. success. Success is achieved by the application of power. Natural power and organized power. Physical power produced by nature, such as the aid of organized raindrops pouring over Niagara Falls. Man has harnessed this form of power. Much more intensive form of power is produced through the harmonious coordination of thought in the minds of other men. Reasoning behind mergers. Mergers in business are often created because of the power-friendly alliance of business. Great power may be developed. Physics is also proof of organization. From electrons of small particles, largest star in the universe, these are proof of the law of organization. How to develop organized power. Power grows out of organized knowledge, but organized knowledge can only be developed by application and use. Story of the sticks and the sun. A father gave his 7 quarreling sons a tied bundle of sticks to show what their lack of cooperation meant. Each of his sons tried to break the bundle, but he could not. He then cut the tie and gave each son a stick, and they could break it with ease. When you boys work together in a spirit of harmony, you resemble the bundle of stick, and no one can defeat you. But when you quarrel among yourselves, anyone can defeat you at one time. Story applied to the people of a community, the employees and employers of a given workplace, or the state and nation in which we live. What is education? Education consists of the power with which to get everything one needs without violating the rights of his fellow men. This is also what makes a person truly educated. Knowledge itself is not power unless it is organized. It is potential power. Any library or the internet contains unorganized knowledge of potential power. Quote-unquote educated versus quote-unquote fools. Any man may become a know-it-all without possessing any power. The knowledge only becomes power when it is organized and put to action. So the most educated people have less general knowledge as fools. The difference between the educated person and the fool is that the fool knows how to use the knowledge that they have. Many men of learning are not educated. Many who are lacking in schooling are well educated. Use your knowledge. A good encyclopedia contains most of the facts of the known world, but they are useless as sand dunes until organized and expressed in terms of action. Ford versus Chicago Tribune. Some years ago during the World War, Mr. Ford brought suit against the Chicago Tribune, charging the newspaper with libelous publication of statements that Ford was an ignoramus. When the suit came up for the trial, the attorneys for the Tribune overtook to prove by Ford himself that he was ignorant, and with this object in view, they cross-examined him on all matter of subjects. One question they asked was, how many soldiers did the British send over to subdue the rebellion in the colonies in 1776? With a dry grin on his face, Ford nonchalantly replied, I do not know how many, but I've heard that it was a lot more than ever went back. Loud laughter from the court, jury, courtroom spectators, and even the frustrated lawyer who had asked the question. This line of interrogation was continued for an hour more. Ford kept perfectly calm the meanwhile. Finally, however, he permitted the smart aleck lawyers to play with him until he was tired out, and replied to a question which was particularly obnoxious and insulting. Ford straightened himself, pointed his finger at the questioning lawyer, and replied, If I should really wish to answer this foolish question you have just asked, or any others you have been asking, let me remind you that I have a row of electric push buttons hanging over my desk, and by placing my fingers on the right button, I can call on men who give you the correct answers to all the questions you've asked, and to many that you have not the intelligence either to ask or answer. Now, will you kindly tell me why I should bother about filling my mind with a lot of useless details in order to answer every full question that anyone may ask, when I have many able men all about me who could supply me with the facts I want when I call for them? There was a silence in the courtroom. The questioning attorney's jaw dropped down, his eyes opened widely. The judge leaned forward from the bench and gazed in Mr. Ford's direction. Many of the jury awoke and looked around as if they heard an explosion. Up to the time of the reply, the lawyer had been enjoying considerable fun at what he believed to be Ford's expense. By adroitly displaying the lawyer's sample case of general knowledge and comparing it with what he inferred to be Ford's ignorance as to the many events and subjects. But that answer spoiled the lawyer's fun. It also proved once more that true education means mind development, not merely the gathering and classifying of knowledge. There are many men of learning who could easily entangle Ford, theoretically, with a maze of questions, which he could not answer. But Ford could turn right around and wage a battle in industry or finance that would exterminate those same men. Ford was thought to be ignorant because he didn't memorize useless facts that he could have others answer for him. He was more intelligent than all the law people in the room because he applied his knowledge. Story of the college man versus an educated man. A president of a very well-known college inherited a large tract of very poor land with a highway through it. This land had no valuable materials, therefore it was nothing but a source of expense to him, for he had to pay taxes on it. An uneducated man who was driving over the road observed that this poor land was the top of a mountain which he commanded a wonderful view for many miles in all directions. He, the ignorant one, also observed that the land was covered with a small growth of small pines and other saplings. He bought 50 acres of land for $10 an acre. He built a log cabin, a gas station, and log houses across the road. The building materials for this cost nothing because he had all the materials which he grew from trees. The total profit realized from this simple transaction was more than $25,000, and the time required for its consummation was 1 summer. Yet this man of vision and imagination was not educated in the orthodox meaning of the term. The major fears. Poverty. The fear of poverty comes from the habit of man wanting to prey upon each other economically. Animals must prey on each other physically because they have no power to think, but man with a superior mind gets more pleasure upon eating people financially. We are living in the age of money worship. Man is considered less than dirt unless he has a large bank account. Poverty brings suffering and humiliation more than anything else. No wonder man fears it. Society should be called society, with the first letter being a $sign because of money worship. Mankind is willing to do anything to gain wealth, including theft, murder, rape, and other violation of rights. No man would fear poverty if they trusted each other. There is enough food and shelter for everyone. This would be enjoyed if it wasn't for the swindish habit of man to deceive for profit. We slave away because of our fear of poverty to hoard for old age. This causes us to overwork our bodies and bring in the thing we are trying to avoid. The major fear is ill health. This fear is from physical and social heredity. From birth, there is a warfare between our friendly cells and germs. This comes from nature's cruel plan of permitting stronger cells to prey upon weaker cells. Social heredity has caused ill health from lack of sanitation. There is also those who are profited from ill health, saying to others that they need service to be healthy. The major fear is the loss of love of someone. This fear fills mental assignment. This fills divorce courts, causes murder and other cruel punishments. It is handed from the Stone Age, when man preyed upon each other by stealing his mate by physical force. Now man steals his fellow man's mate through shiny cars, fancy houses, and jewelry. The major fear is criticism. Without this fear, men would not become bald. Baldness comes from a tightly fitted hats which cut circulation to the hair. Women rarely are bald because they have loosely fitted hat. This fear causes clothing makers much gain. You believe you must wear the up-to-date clothes because you will be out of step with what everyone else is wearing. Try to wear an outfit that is out of date. Observe your unseen enemy, the fear of criticism. The major fear is death. For many years, mankind has asked the question, where did I come from, and where am I going after death? The manipulative of our races have offered to offer an answer. The answering of these questions have become a learned profession, despite the fact that little learning is necessary to enter this profession. The leader says, follow my teachings and you may go to heaven after death. Heaven was a place of bliss and peace. The leader will then say, if you do not follow my teachings, you will go to hell. Hell was depicted as chaotic and full of suffering. The leader may not be able to guide you to heaven or allow someone to descend to hell, but the fear of hell seems so terrible that it created the fear of death. Nobody knows for certain where we come from or where we go after death. A person claiming otherwise is deceiving themselves or someone who is in the business of making money without rendering a useful service and preying upon people's gullibility. Solution for the major fears. The most effective way to fight fear is organized knowledge. This can be found in almost any library or the internet. According to Hill, you should read Mind in the Making by Robinson, Science of Power by Ben Kidd, Emerson Essay on Computation, and a good book on autosuggestion. Inform yourself that the beliefs you hold today become realities tomorrow. Study effects of the fears by their causes in you and free yourself of fear. Select two people whom you know at close at hand, one representing your idea of failure and the other corresponding to your idea of success. Find out what makes one a failure and other success. Get the real facts. In the process of gathering these facts, you have taught yourself a great lesson on the cause and effect. Nothing just happens. Everything from the lowest animal form to humans is the effect of nature's evolutionary process. Evolution is orderly change. No miracles are involved. This is not only true for animals, but also the mind of man is undergoing constant change. You have the ability to change your mind quickly. In just one month of self-suggestion, you could destroy your fears. Power built on fear will crumble. Understand this and you won't try to raise yourself to power by playing on fears of people who will owe you temporary allegiance. The man who masters fears may march on to successful achievement in practically any undertaking despite all efforts to defeat him. The fears cannot have come from physical heredity for the most part because it is a state of mind. The generation of fears can be thrown off with the aid of autosuggestion. The human mind to know that a man may throw off the accumulated effects of 1,000 generations fear through the aid of the principle of autosuggestion. Many animals and man live by eating smaller and weaker animals. The cell intelligence enters man and brings the fear of being eaten alive. This may or may not be true, but at least logically makes some sense. And it should be noted that Napoleon Hill eats one steak a week, so he doesn't eat a lot of meat. I think he kind of understands this, but he isn't 100% sure on it. He did live for a long time. He lived until his mid-80s. But this concludes the Mastermind Law by Next Level Thinking.